In Peru, the members of rural self-defense organizations in the Andes regions of the Department of Libertad joined the protest against the government of Dina Boluarte. The ice storm sweeping across the United States has claimed the life of 55 people, leaving hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses without power. And in Spain, pilots continue to strike, leading to the suspension of at least 30 flights in the last 24 hours. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Peru, the members of rural self-defense organizations made up of ethnic sectors and farmers in the Andes region of the Department of La Libertad also reject the government of Dina Boluarte and demand political changes. The farmers of the region joined the social protests in the country after the dismissal of the former president Pedro Castillo. The rural workers announced that they will communicate the Department of La Libertad with the Peruvian highlands. The demands continue to be the same as those requested by various social sectors: the resignation of President Dina Boluarte, the closure of Congress, early elections, and a constituent process. So far, the state repression against the popular mobilization has left about 20 dead. On Monday, the Peruvian Public Prosecutor's Office raided the homes of former Minister of Defense Walter Ayala, who served during the government of Pedro Castillo, and of a group of national police generals investigated for alleged irregular promotions in the security forces in 2021. According to preliminary information, the operation would be part of the investigations against the former minister and other police generals for the case of irregular promotions in the armed forces and the PNP that would have taken place during the administration of former President Castillo. The raid started in the office of the former defense minister, where the entrance had to be forced, and continuing in-house, where Ayala allowed the entrance of the personnel in charge of the operation. Elements such as laptop documents and a mirror copy of his personal computer were seized. In Colombia, the assassination of a new peace secretary in the Department of Cauca was announced this Monday. He is the 44th so far in 2022. According to the Institute of Studies for Development and Peace, the victim was identified as John Janner Velasco Palacios, 44 years old, who was murdered in the neighborhood of La Elvira, municipality of Corinto, in circumstances that are still unknown. Velasco was a signatory of the peace agreement who was currently in the process of reincorporation in the north of the Department of Cauca. According to the past data, 43 signatories have been killed so far this year and 348 since the peace accords in 2016. Venezuelan authorities destroyed a total of 42 aircraft used for drug trafficking during 2022 for violation of national sovereignty. The head of the Strategic Operational Command of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, Domingo Hernandez Lares, gave the figure on his Twitter account, where he also published a video showing the moment in which a light aircraft is detonated. Hernandez Lares informed that these disqualifications were made as part of the Operation Bolivarian Shield 2022, which is being developed mainly in the Venezuelan border states. In Haiti, political parties are calling on the government to add other political forces to the recent agreement between the authorities and various sectors in order to solve the country's current multifaceted crisis. The Political Alliance for a Society with No Exclusion said the agreement signed last December 24th must guarantee a way out of the current crisis and be extended to other social-political sectors which are still on the sidelines. The consensus also foresees that Prime Minister Henry remains in office until February 2024, a year after 2023 upcoming general elections. They are also pushing for a possible constitutional reform, despite objections from several political movements. On his part, former Senator Moises Jean-Charles said such project is a force which seeks to disorient the international community. In the Eastern Caribbean, a proposal to establish a ferry service known as ferries through public-private partnerships has ruled Barbados out of the 4 possible routes. The document was prepared by Diego Aita, Associate Economic Affairs Officer at the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean. by its acronym, described Nations News. The report details 4 possible routes. The first one includes Colombia, Aruba, Bonaire, Curaçao, and Trinidad and Tobago. The second one includes Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and Suriname. The third one links Puerto Rico, Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, and St. Lucia. And the fourth one includes St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, even though CARICOM seeks to promote better and more seamless connectivity within the region. ECLAC's proposal is still considered incomplete as it does not include Barbados. On Monday, Japan confirmed over 1 million people positive for COVID-19 during the last week, an increase of 103,565 cases compared to the same period before. Of the 47 Japanese prefectures, the highest incidence was Tokyo with 119,934, followed by Aichi with 73,321, Kanagawa with 71,467, and Osaka with 69,661, totaling 1,149,985. According to the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. According to the agency, the country reached 28.3 million infections since the beginning of the pandemic. As for death, the national toll added another 2,052 and totaled 55,593 victims of the disease. Experts believe that Japan is facing an 8th pandemic wave, with an Omicron subvariant predominance. Authorities warned that the crisis could worsen further as travel and citizen interactions increase due to the end of the year celebrations. We'll take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the south. In the United States, the death toll from Winter Storm Elliott rose to 55. New York State Governor Kathy Hochul said 25 of the deaths related to the unprecedented winter storm were registered in the northern state. The official also detailed that the snowstorms and freezing rain left some 15,000 residents without power. Meteorological services forecast that temperatures are expected to continue to fall. In this regard, authorities said that at least 60% of the population remains under some kind of alert due to the storm. More than 2,000 domestic and international flights have been cancelled and millions of people have been forced to stay at home. In Brazil, at least 13 people lost their lives in the last hours due to heavy rains in the state of Minas Gerais in the southeast of the country. According to a civil defense report, the last confirmed death occurred this Monday when firefighters found the body of an 18-year-old girl who had been missing. Most of the deaths are related to landslides that have buried several houses as a consequence of the excess of rain in the territory. They also detailed that there are now 104 municipalities in an emergency situation due to the rains. Pilot strike progresses in Spain, which has led to the suspension of at least 30 flights in the last 24 hours. On Monday, Vueling, Ryanair and Air Nostrum Airlines confronted another day of pilots' protests where Air Nostrum notified the cancellation of 33 flights. Strike days will continue on December 27th, 29th and 30th, as well as on January 2nd and the 3rd, with a total of 211 flights cancelled. Consequently, affected travelers may request reimbursement of money or relocation to other flights or dates according to availability. Meanwhile, the union stated they called to demand better working conditions and salary increases. In the United Kingdom, railroad and border force workers continue their respective strikes to demand better wages. The strikes that started last week are keeping a large part of the transport in the United Kingdom paralyzed or with long delays. This measure that will continue until Thursday could affect national commerce. The National Maritime Rail and Transport Union clarified that the halt of activities will persist until January. So far, the company Network Rail proposed a 5% wage increase to the workers, which was rejected by the union. It demands a 7% wage increase. Vladimir Rogov, member of the Administrative Council of Zaporizhia region, informed the reconstruction works on the atomic power plant have started. The official pointed out that the specialists are already working to eliminate all the damage Ukrainian attacks have caused. Rogov explained that the commissioning of this plant is of the utmost importance as it will make it possible to reconnect the reactors and resume energy generation. Zaporizhia's nuclear power plant is the largest of its kind in Europe. It has 6 pressurized water reactors and a total capacity of 6,000 megawatts. Mexican Christmas holidays incorporated traditional crystallized candies, cut paper, lanterns, piñatas, and other handmade objects to decorate trees. Let's see each of these traditions with our correspondent Aisa Garcia.
Crystallizing fruits and vegetables is an important part of the Mexican traditional Christmas. The recipe dates back many years and it calls for the effort of every family member, from the youngest to parents and grandparents. It takes 6 hours every day. This is the only way to have everything ready for December.
Over the years, they have produced bananas, carrots, chayote, poblano peppers, peaches, apples, all kinds of fruits and vegetables have been turned into crystallized candies.
It has been proven that these traditional treats are more nutritious than any candy popsicle. That's why more and more fruits and vegetables are now being crystallized.
It starts with washing, peeling the fruit, liming the fruit so that it will hold, cooking them. But the most important part of the process is soaking them for hours so that the fruit may have a better consistency.
Another tradition that requires a lot of dedication is cut paper lanterns.
The ornament is part of our pre-Hispanic traditions. The Aztecs used them to decorate their bodies and make costumes with crowns, painted and made paper.
The piñata has also been used since ancient times and it has become an element of Mexican identity.
In his first trips, Marco Polo takes a sample of his pieces to Italy, where they called it pignata, and later further into Europe until arriving in Spain. After the conquest, the Spaniards also brought it.
Nowadays, colorful piñatas are a must at almost any celebration, especially during Christmas festivities. These figures are so popular that the Museum of Popular Art holds an annual contest to reward the creativity and ingenuity of the artisans.
They are very different from what people are used to seeing in piñatas, and they show the creativity of the Mexicans.
Apart from the beauty of the work itself, of the technique, the most important thing is to promote the tradition so that children continue to see these traditions and cultivate them so that they may be continued for generations to come.
Christmas Eve flowers adorn streets, houses, and pretty much everything.
It is a family tradition. It has symbolism that has been used for a long time in our country.
Christmas trees, which year after year increase considerably in price, add to the tradition. There is also no shortage of Christmas glass balls. More and more Mexicans are turning to handmade Christmas ornaments, for example those manufactured in the magical town of Tlalpujahua are 100% Mexican and handmade. Don Pacho's Mora's workshop produces some 100 kinds of these glass Christmas balls.
We start with a glass cylinder and we cut chunks, which we turn into whatever figure we want, because there is a variety of these balls.
In each Christmas ball, Don Arturo leaves a breath of life. Transforming glass into these delicate ornaments, it is not simple, but he cares more about supporting his family and preserving his native culture.
Aiza García, TeleSUR, Ciudad de México.
More news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. China's foreign ministry on Monday extended its congratulations to pushback Kemal Dahal on his election as the new prime minister of Nepal.
We noted the smooth and successful general elections in Nepal and congratulate Mr. Bachanda, also known as Pusha Kemal Dahal, on his appointment as the new Prime Minister of Nepal. We believe that with the joint efforts of the Nepalese government and the people, as well as the consultation and collaboration of all parties, as a traditional friendly neighbor, China attaches great importance to China-Nepal relations and is willing to work with the new Nepalese government to expand and deepen friendly exchanges and cooperation between the two countries in various fields.
The Chinese Foreign Ministry also congratulated Sitiveni Rabuka on his election as the new Prime Minister of Fiji.
China congratulates Mr. Sitiveni Rabuka on his election as the new Prime Minister of Fiji and believes that under his leadership the government and people of Fiji will make greater achievements in the development and construction of their country. China and Fiji are comprehensive strategic partners featuring mutual respect and common development, and their long-standing relations have been well developed and fruitful, bringing tangible benefits for the peoples of both countries. China is willing to work with the new Fiji government to promote the continuous development of China-Fiji relations for the benefit of both countries and peoples.
In the Middle East, more than 600 Palestinian children were placed under house arrest in 2022 by Israeli courts. The measure is a form of punishment because Israeli law does not allow such imprisonment. According to a report by the Palestinian Commission for Detainees and Former Detainees Affairs, the punishment is imposed mainly against children and young people under the age of 14 in East Al-Quds, Jerusalem, reports the official news agency Wafa. The courts order house arrest, during which time the minor's file is examined, judicial process is followed, and a sentence is reached, which can take a few days, a year, or more, without this period being included to deduct it from the sentence. Throughout this time, the child must wear an electronic monitoring bracelet. In Indonesia, a second group of weak and exhausted Rohingya Muslims landed on a beach in Aceh, the northernmost province, on Monday after weeks at sea, officials said. At least 485 men, women, and children, they were moved to the town's hall and will remain there while receiving help from residents, health workers, and others. Police said immigration officials and police were trying to identify the refugees to determine whether they belonged to the group of 190 Rohingya who, the United Nations reported, had been adrift in a small boat in the Andaman Sea for a month. 39 of them were receiving fluids through medical infusion devices, and most were suffering from dehydration, a doctor at the village town health said. The humanitarian crisis in Sri Lanka is worsening following acute shortages of daily necessities, including food, fuel, and cooking gas, as the country's economy is seeing a massive downturn and soaring inflation. The country witnessed violent protests that forced the president to resign, and a new administration took office in August. But despite this, Sri Lanka's economic crisis has forced 70% of its families to skip meals or reduce meal size. According to a report published by the United Nations, 1 in 4 Sri Lankans is facing food insecurity, with children the hardest hit as school dropout rate has increased and underage population entered the workforce. As a relief measure, the government resorts to tourism to alleviate the grim economic outlook.
They're taking their children out of school and getting them to work as well, just to nourish themselves and provide their daily essentials. So it's just by providing the meal as an incentive for the child to come to school. It has a huge impact in the economy of Sri Lanka, and like I said, it's going to make money when you bring the tourists in and when they spend. We don't have to wait for months to recover. It's instant recovery. That's why we need to get the numbers.
Authorities updated death toll in tanker explosion in Johannesburg, South Africa. Initially, authorities reported 10 deaths, which were later increased to 15 in an update of the figures on Sunday, while on Monday another 3 deaths were added for a total of 18. It was learned that part of the victims work at the Tambo Memorial Hospital, where 37 other people were also seriously injured. The magnitude of the explosion caused considerable material damage in a radius of 500 meters, and according to the report, the truck was loaded with 60,000 liters of LPG gas, which conditioned the occurrence of the incident. We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.